Episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate here on Fantasy Focus, brought to you by the Original Hooters. I'm your host, Derek Tate, alongside Samantha Holt, as we are on kickoff eve for the NFL 2019 season. Sam, Bears, Packers tomorrow. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. I mean, every year I say the same thing. You wait this long, the anticipation builds, doesn't disappoint. Always excited for week one. So much to get through, so many players to see how they perform after so much hype, after watching the rookie draft. So just super excited.
I had a draft last night, probably my most important, longest lasting draft with all my friends from back in high school. I like some parts of it, don't like some parts of it, but we won't get into our personal teams. I am ready for NFL kickoff season, and so is a player that most of the NFL preseason has revolved around in some way, shape, or form. That's Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke signed and agreed on a 6-year, $90 million extension to make him the highest paid running back in the NFL. So, Sam, finally, we have some closure. Unfortunately, Tony Pollard had to die for this.
I wouldn't say he died.
You had to die.
I mean, I wouldn't say he died. I mean, you knew what you were doing when you drafted both Zeke and Tony Pollard. I have both in a league, and I was lucky enough to get Zeke later in the first round than I think I normally would have because of what transpired, but I also did back him up with Tony Pollard. I am not going to drop him as of yet, just because, one, it's a very deep league, but two, a handcuff to a really high-scoring running back. He proved himself in the preseason that he's going to be consistent if he's there. So I'm not getting rid of him yet. I mean, will there be a week where I've got a bye week and I need to drop someone? Sure, I'll drop him then. But until then, I'm just going to keep him as a stash.
He's not droppable right now. In fact, Week one, he actually makes for even under the radar flex play if Zeke is a go for week one against the Giants. But I do think that after the first couple of weeks, once Zeke is back in the fold, 100% full. I do think Pollard will have a role. Maybe in a PPR, in a deep PPR, he's a stash. But I'm not that excited about his standalone value for the 2019 season. But
no, but I mean, it was good to see that kind of potential at the depth of the chart, because I think otherwise we were wondering who would be the one to fill in for Zeke in the meantime. So at least that question's answered for those Zeke owners.
About the depth of the chart, I've never heard it. I've never heard a depth chart broken down in a sentence in that way.
Today at work I had to get real in depth on some copy, so that's probably where that's coming from. Over explaining myself, or it could be the bourbon. I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. Just keep drinking there, Sam. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and break down now. When it comes to Zeke, though, we have at least now. If you're drafting tonight, at least you had some closure. And you know that where you could take him. And most people, his ADP was starting to creep back up. Sometimes he fell out of the first round. But another running back, Melvin Gordon, it seems like this situation has gone from bad to worse.
Sure.
And I'm not sure it's going to be salvageable. Even if he does come back to accrue a year, it seems like the Chargers are playing full-on hardball. There was a team that at least inquired, at least a report said that they inquired about Melvin Gordon, and the Chargers are playing hardball. They are driving the price up, saying they want a first rounder back as far as compensation goes.
Sure.
That seems like madness. Sam, I mean, give me your thoughts on Melvin Gordon in the draft last night. He went in the 4th round, and that was in a keeper league. Do you even want any shares of Melvin Gordon?
I mean, I've heard different things and takes on Melvin Gordon. I do think that he's a stash in the later rounds, but you don't want to be drafting him in any of the starting rounds of starting positions. You want to wait. I think 4th is still a little bit too rich for me, knowing at the very earliest, if he's going to play for the Chargers, it's week 10. So I think that he's got to go later. You've got to have every other position filled before you even just stash him. I mean, it's interesting to see other teams reaching out for him. I know we speculated a couple weeks back, wouldn't it be great if Houston took him because they really needed him at the time? Well, they went and signed LaShawn McCoy. Perhaps I'm segueing a little too early for that talk, but
you mean Carlos Hyde for the Texans?
Fuck me, yeah.
Well, we'll go ahead and censor that. But anyway, yeah.
My bad. No, they got Carlos. My bad. I've got too many notes in front of me. I'm all excited because tomorrow's week 1. But
no worries.
At least I'm not as red as you.
I had to give you a hard time. I had to give you a hard time.
All these names are just buzzing around. There's too much movement. I'm just going to attribute it to there's so much that's happened in the last 2 weeks. It's hard to keep track of.
So let's change. Okay, so let's change gears because most people are probably already completed their drafts. If they had their drafts tonight, this is like pretty much the last night to have a season-long draft.
Yeah.
We can get into DFS later, but as far as this week, though, for the Chargers, they're facing off against the Indianapolis Colts. Are you comfortable starting? Not obviously, if you have Eckler, you're firing him into your lineup probably as like a running back 2 at the very least, if not a flex option. But what about Justin Jackson? Do you feel comfortable starting Justin Jackson this week?
I mean, no, just because I feel like week 1, you should have other options available to you. I mean, unless you're in a super deep league, I feel like you have better options to start. It'll be interesting to see how they use Justin Jackson, but I'm not going to be relying on him week 1.
I mean, we saw last year that Eckler had standalone value, and Justin Jackson had a role when Melvin Gordon got hurt last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not suggesting that you need to start him, over someone like Mark Ingram or anything like that.
No.
But I do think he's definitely a flex-worthy player, even in week 1, and especially I don't know what in the hell to expect from the Indianapolis Colts with Andrew Luck not under center. I know they got a solid unit defensively. I got roasted a couple episodes ago saying that the Colts don't have a very good defense. Upon further review, they're statistically they were actually pretty good last year. But point is, I'm definitely willing to give Justin Jackson a flex approval for this week because we know they're not going to have Melvin Gordon.
Sure.
100%.
Yeah. If anything, we do know for sure Melvin Gordon is not starting this week.
So we do have a question on YouTube from Matt Voles.
Yay, Matt.
How many leagues is too many leagues? I don't know if you're asking the right folks, Matt, because I don't know if there is a cap. And what is the max amount of leagues you will play in before you start to get overwhelmed managing all of your teams?
I think the further question is, do you like your job? Because if you don't like your job, there's never too many fantasy football leagues to keep you distracted from doing other things. I think that too many leagues goes into when you have too many leagues that you're paying too high a price to be in to not fully pay attention to them. But for me, this year, I've kept it kind of low. Usually my league high is about 8. I'm sitting about 6 right now.
Well, I've always felt I am a shit multitasker. So when you have multiple leagues, there are leagues that I'm way more emotionally invested in than others. Like I mentioned, the one I had last night, that's one that I've been in for 10 plus years with buddies of mine that we go back all the way back to our, childhoods. So that one means emotionally more to me. So I pay attention to that one more. I'm going to say if you have more than 5 leagues, sometimes it can be very difficult to make sure that you're making all of the correct waiver wire, claims, additions. I always make sure I start my lineups, but just those little things like making sure you get to the waiver wire when some sort of breaking news happens in the middle of the season. That's the only thing that can get kind of lost in the shuffle if you have more than too many leagues to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that there's lots of leagues that have different waiver wire closing times, and I just know that specifically because I have one dynasty league that has a really late waiver wire closing. So I think you just have to outweigh everything. And then there's some people that like to draft a lot of the same players, so it makes it a little bit easier for themselves. And there's others that like to draft everybody, which to me is a little bit too much chaos. I always try to have a good core 3 to 5 players that I always have on each team. Or at least I always target the same kind of guys so I kind of know where I'm going to be landing. And also it helps multitasking all those leagues. But for me, the most I've done is 8. I know that Ryan Levy of Fantasy Focus does like 20,000 leagues. So plus there's DFS to consider.
He's a psycho.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say is don't have so many leagues that you can't have a social life. Your friends will miss you. So, find a good balance in that.
Got it. So one of the things that we have now, everybody has pretty much completed their draft. So talking about ADP is probably a lost cause now. But we've had some roster changes, big roster changes that happened over the weekend. And now heading into week one, we want to know what to do as far as who to start for week one and beyond here. Now, Carlos Hyde, as we mentioned before, he went to the Texans, and LaShawn McCoy was released and then almost immediately picked up by the Kansas City Chiefs to compete over there with Damian Williams. And then over in Houston, it's Duke Johnson and Carlos Hyde moving forward. So what's your approach with these two backfields heading into week one? Are you still going to start Damian Williams and Duke Johnson, who were the quote-unquote incumbents in these backfields? And do you feel comfortable starting McCoy or Hyde in your flex this week? Okay,
so for Damian Williams, I feel like I would still start him this week just because he is the one most familiar with the playbook as of this very moment. Right. I mean, I know LaShawn McCoy, he's no spring chicken. He's been in the league for years, but, he also is just arriving, so they're going to want to slowly work him into different things. So I think you still have good value there with Damian Williams. We'll see how it plays out over the next couple of weeks, but I wouldn't not start him, at least in my flex. I think he's still a good play there. I think for Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson, I'm still going to start Duke Johnson. I'm not really that worried. I mean, Carlos Hyde is now on his fifth team in the last 3 years. I mean,
yeah,
he's just been around a bit much, and I think that given Deshaun Watson, the way they like to play there, I think that he still has a lot of options there for receptions, for PPR. So I still think that Duke Johnson's a really great flex option, especially in PPR this week.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with Duke Johnson still being a worthy flex option. Now for Kansas City, look, if you invested in Damian Williams in the second, third, fourth, whatever round you got him in your roster, yeah, you got to start him. I'm gonna go ahead and just start there. They're actually playing Jacksonville week one, which is a little bit of I'm actually thinking that this Jacksonville defense is going to bounce back this year. I mean, let's not forget 2 years ago, they damn near went to the Super Bowl with Blake Bortles under center. That's how dominant this defense was. And they still got a ton of talent from top to bottom. But point is, regardless of the matchup, if you invested that much in Damian Williams, McCoy, who's coming off of a career worse, or pretty much career lows across the board, that should not be enough to scare you off.
No, you're not getting him at his best. They're not getting him at his best. And that's what you have to remember is that not only has he been in the league so long, but he's coming off, again, what you just said, his worst.
Flip side of the coin, though, I'm not starting McCoy this week. Like, I would actually take a stab at Hyde possibly, but I'm not. I want nothing to do with starting McCoy this week. I still like the guy, Darwin Thompson. I do. I don't know what his role is going to be now that McCoy's there.
Yeah.
But I'm staying away from McCoy this week just to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I think that week one, it's safe. It's just playing it safe. Week one, you're playing your studs and you're playing it safe, and then we'll see how it goes in week two. Now, you don't burn your team after week one. Don't do one of those and drop everybody, but still.
So, speaking of which, don't hit the panic button if your team sucks in week one. That's such a knee-jerk reaction thing. Don't stay the course. But I will ask you this, and it's going to be more so because we're kicking off NFL action. We talked about that earlier in the show. Bears Packers tomorrow, and last year we saw the Bears essentially melt down with a wounded Aaron Rodgers coming back, throwing 3 second-half touchdowns to upset the Bears on opening night. But I do want to ask you, for fantasy purposes tomorrow, a lot of folks were really high on David Montgomery. I still see Mike Davis being involved early in this season. Of course, you got Tariq Cohen. Is there any hesitation whatsoever with starting David Montgomery? I don't think anybody that took him in the second, third, fourth, whatever round you took him in, I don't think anybody is going to shy away from starting him because they believe in him clearly. But is there any hesitation? Is he worth a start maybe in DFS?
Absolutely. I definitely think you gotta roll the dice on him. I think that the Bears are really excited about them. We've been talking about him a lot in the preseason. There's a lot there. Yes, you're going to be working through a few things, but I think he's definitely still worth the start. I mean, Thursday night football, week one, there's going to be a lot of hype, a lot of excitement from these players, a lot to want to prove. So I think that you're going to be excited when you see him play.
I love David Montgomery. If he's like my running back 3 or 4 and I have other options, I would like to sit him week one. I know people are going to throw stuff at me probably because I love David Montgomery. I think he is the back to own in this Bears backfield. But I just want to see how the snaps shake out. We've seen pretty much since that week 1 appearance from David Montgomery, the Chicago Bears and Matt Nagy have decided to sit all of their starters the entire rest of the preseason.
Yeah.
So unless you're sitting there watching like the training camp practices every single day, preseason practices, then you really don't know how the snap share is going to go there in Chicago. So I'd rather go away from Montgomery if I have other options. But if you draft him as your running back too, then yeah, fire him up. And he should be just fine. However, what about the pass catchers on Green Bay or Chicago? Is there anybody that you like in tomorrow night's matchup?
Let's see. I mean, aside from the obvious starters in Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, I mean, I'm just excited to see this rivalry play out. I mean, it's a great week 1 Thursday night game to start us off with, I think.
No, it's definitely a great matchup. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm
No, I
saying
know.
as far as to sink your teeth into for those DFS folks that like they can't, like Ryan Levy, for example. That guy's definitely got at least 3 lineups already in on DraftKings. He's probably got 2 on FanDuel, 1 on Draft. You know, he's definitely has something invested in tomorrow night.
Sure.
So I'm gonna go as far as on the Chicago pass catcher side. I like Anthony Miller. I mean, I know that Anthony Miller missed some of the time this preseason. He got a little bit of an injury, got nicked up. But again, the Bears have taken a very cautious approach. So Miller has been given the green light. He is a go for week 1. I think that Anthony Miller is going to take some big steps in his second year in this offense. Same thing with Mitchell Trubisky, 3rd year as a pro, 2nd year in this Nagy system. I'm excited to see what he can do. So Miller is the guy that I think in DFS I want as one of the pass catchers for the Chicago Bears. And on the other side, I mean, this Bears defense, I don't like I don't want to start anybody in like a weekly lineup, but if you're just doing like a lineup tomorrow night and you have to pick a Green Bay pass catcher,
Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
I was going to go MVS as far as the price tag goes. MVS, yep. So
absolutely, as that second wide receiver there, and I think that I have him. I mean, I have him over Geronimo Allison. I don't know about yourself, but I think that he has a lot of opportunities there. So yeah, if you had to pick someone for tomorrow, receiver, he's a great one.
Let's not forget that Geronimo Allison actually caught 20 passes in just 5 games last year worth of action. So I think people are sleeping on Allison. I understand the upside with MVS for sure, but I think that Allison's just fine as well. You know, I think he's going to more so step into that Randall Cobb role from last season.
Yeah.
And MVS is going to be doing a lot of the work on the outside along with Devontae Adams as well. So that's kind of how I see that. We're going to get our first look at the Matt LaFleur offense with Aaron Rodgers under center. I mean, I don't think that he deserves to be an NFL head coach, but that's neither here nor there. So cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur. I love that one. I'm sorry. I keep going to that one from Dodgeball.
I don't know if you've said it every podcast we've done so far this year or every other one, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, I know. I need to come up with some different lines from that movie. Just even if there's another couple times he says LaFleur, I got to just come up with some other stuff.
Might have to rewatch Dodgeball.
Please do, if I'm going to keep quoting it as much as I am. So as far as other topics go, though, I have actually a situation I want to bounce off you and see what your thoughts are as far as a stardom sit-em.
Okay.
So I'm in a standard league. Wide receiver question. Do you go with not Amari Cooper, my apologies, Allen Robinson or Josh Gordon for week 1? Kind of a tricky one, isn't it?
That is a tricky one. Because, I mean, I kind of want to go with Allen Robinson, but, I mean, I know that Brady is really excited to have Gordon back. He opens up the field a lot for him. That is a good one. No, I think and then they're playing against Pittsburgh. They're playing against Pittsburgh, so I don't want to predict that Josh Gordon's going to go off because that'll make me upset. But, oh, man.
Gordon traditionally plays pretty well against Pittsburgh.
Really? Just got to throw that in my face?
I am throwing that out there, yeah. I mean, you got to wear your Steelers shit, so I'm going to, I got to throw a jab out there. Just a jab, just a paw jab.
I mean, fine. All right. Yeah, given the matchup, sure, Gordon over Robinson.
Okay. It is interesting. I'm probably going to lean Josh Gordon myself. We don't know how long we're going to have Josh Gordon until something happens. And this is, of course, on a dynasty team, which I've been dealing with Josh Gordon and been married to this man for emotionally for
Have you been in counseling for that relationship?
Yeah, no. I've avoided counseling. I've said I didn't need it, and I've somehow survived it. But I'm going to go with Josh Gordon. I think if there is a chance between the two games, which one's going to be a little bit higher scoring, I think it's actually going to be the New England-Pittsburgh game that's going to be a little bit higher scoring than that Bears defense at home opener against Aaron Rodgers in a new offense. So I am going to go with the old Joshy Gord piece. Even though I like Allen Robinson, I think he's being slept on a little bit this year. Do you have any stardom sit-ems?
Oh my gosh. Well, thankfully I just had to readjust my lineup to put Ezekiel Elliott back in the starting. So I'm sitting.
That's a good problem to have.
I'm sitting kind of pretty in a lot of my leagues. And then there was I'm pulling up.
While we're loading, I will go ahead and continue to talk.
Yeah.
So make sure people are not, seeing the loading sign as well. So, I mean, just so everybody knows, you can actually find us every Wednesday night, 10 p.m., 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube, recording live our episodes. Of course, this episode is brought to you by the Original Hooters, the fantasy debate with Sam and Tate. So now, did that fill enough time there? Look at that.
Yes, it did.
A seamless plug right off the top of my head. I sound like a commercial, like I'm automated.
It was fabulous. You did a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you.
All right, I got one for you. All right. PPR, Mike Williams or DJ Moore in flex?
I'm going to go DJ Moore.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go DJ Moore. I mean, I know that I haven't been all on the DJ Moore hype train, but I still believe that he's going, if healthy, and if Cam is healthy, that's more so what I meant. If Cam is healthy, and it looks like he's going to be a go for week 1, then DJ Moore's going to put up good numbers. I mean, he's going to be a little volatile because he's, he has the safety blanket in both Christian McCaffrey and Greg Olsen. But talk about a guy that can pop. DJ Moore.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at the matchup, and you got Chargers against the Colts, you got Carolina against the Rams. I'm kind of leaning towards Mike Williams in that.
And I think but the thing is, I can think the Rams can score. What's the one thing that the Rams can do? They have one of the best offenses in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I get that they have some talent with,
have some their defense is pretty good.
What the Rams do have a good defense, and they have some talent at the corner spot. But I still think that Moore is capable of, beating Marcus Peters or Aqib Talib. I still think that he's going to see, especially if the Rams get out in front like I expect them to.
Yeah.
I expect the Rams to be able to put some points on the board. I think that Carolina's probably going to have to play a little bit of catch up. And if that's the case, they're going to be airing it out, probably a couple more extra looks later in the game for DJ Moore. And all he has to do is pop one. So I've actually got DJ Moore.
All right. Well, then that's probably going to be what I'm going to go back and forth off of. Until like 9:55 in the morning over here. I will just be sitting here just like, move or not move.
Are you someone that tinkers with your lineup a lot? Like you pretty much have it set for the entire week, and then you get the EBGBs 5 minutes before kickoff, and then make a switch that ends up costing you a week? I can see it in your face.
Kind of. I mean, it depends on the league. There's always one league of mine, and it's my dynasty one. It's the one that I'm the most precious over. I constantly overthink it. So that is the only league I really tinker with. Everything else, I'm confident, Thursday morning, looked at it, we're good. I hardly second guess it unless there's some sort of injury that I'm waiting for that comes up. Then I'm good.
So that's understandable. By the way, Frank, hi guys.
Hey, what's up?
It should be hi guys and gal, Frank. Come on. I mean, we do have a gal in the house.
It's all right.
I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you, Frank. So are there any other questions or scenarios that you're looking as far as stardom sit-em in the rest of your leagues while you're looking around? I mean, also for Frank, Matt also did mention he thinks the Carolina game has more shootout potential. And that's kind of what I was getting at with DJ Moore, like the possibility of a score being higher and having to throw the ball around the yard a little bit more.
Sure. Well, guys, I'm not going to move my lineup right now. I got to wait and think about it more. But I see your points, and I will take them and think about them later.
So we never got into this, though. Did you do any drafts over Labor Day weekend?
Did I do any drafts this weekend? No, I did not do any drafts this weekend. I did experiment with White Claw this weekend, and I found out what all the fuss was about. Those things are great.
I don't know. I think they're just eh. I'm sorry to break your heart, but
no, okay.
They're overrated. But
for females that are always watching for how many calories they have in a drink, they definitely do the job with apparently very few calories, and that made me very happy. But I don't think it counts in saving calories when you've had 7, right?
I don't know.
You're like, it's 100 calories a can. Perfect, but I had 7. What does that mean?
So I don't know. I don't count I try to more so be just conscious about what I eat. I never count calories, but of course I've never competed in a fitness competition like you have. I'm bragging for you. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Once upon a time I found out that I should not be competing because I had lost a bet to you and I had to wear a women's tank for the Pittsburgh Steelers after they beat the Buccaneers last year on Monday Night Football. So not something I like to brag about, but I did not fit well or look good in that thing.
But that was also on you. You shouldn't have taken that bet.
The Bucs were 2-0 and riding high. You're damn right I'm going to take that bet.
Sure.
It's okay. It sucked. Still, poor Chris Conti got, if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, Vance McDonald went, "Your soul is mine." Just completely stiff-armed his soul out of that man. He hasn't returned to the NFL since.
They haven't heard from him since. They don't know what happened to him. He's lost somewhere on the highway trying to get home. Poor man.
Poor bastard Chris Conti.
Seriously,
that was probably one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen for somebody on the football field. That was rough. Just punked him.
It was beautiful in many ways. I was on the other side. Man. As a Steelers fan, I was just, could not come down from that hype. Took that into next week, into the next board meeting. I was like, I'm taking this week. Oh my gosh. Way too excited. Sam, did your Steelers win or something this weekend? What is happening? We're talking about packaging right now, and you were too amped.
Yeah, they shit on my Buccaneers is what happened. And a grown man had to wear a Steelers woman's tank. That's what happened. That's exactly what played out. So congratulations.
You should repost that. So people just know what happened.
Whatever. We'll talk about that later.
If you don't repost it, it's okay. I have the picture. I can repost it too.
So we do have a couple other questions. Hold on. Frank, first off. Sorry, guys. I just tuned in because I saw the girl and the word fantasy together. I did a little fantasy NBA in the early 2000s. Very nice, Frank. Very nice. And a great username in Rocky Saki. Hey, yo, wait. I ain't so comfortable as neither. I drafted Melvin Gordon. I never played fantasy football. Oh, God. Didn't know he was in a dispute. Is there any hope for me? Where did you draft him? If you can go ahead and let us know where you drafted him in the comments section, that will help us give a little bit of light. But if you took him in the first round, then you probably got, unfortunately, for at least it's never over. Even if you lose your first rounder, you still got a chance. It's fantasy football, but
it happens. There's so many times when in a season, people's first rounders will go out from injury. So it's not that you're out and done. It just depends on how the rest of your team shakes out. Fourth round is not bad. So that means that you have some other solid starters. Great. If you want to throw up a couple of your starters, that'd be great. But you're not done. You're fine. If you took him first, it'd be a little shaky, but I think you're fine.
Yeah, fourth round. Actually, I don't think he's going to be traded. I know that there's some trade rumors out there. A couple teams have inquired about Melvin Gordon. I don't think he's going to get traded, though. I don't know if your real name's Rocky, but I'm going to call you Rocky just because it's freaking awesome. So, yeah, Rocky, I wouldn't panic at all. Just don't drop him, though. Even if he doesn't play for a couple weeks, make sure that he's on your bench because if he does come back at any point, if there's some sort of reconciliation with the Chargers and he comes back, that guy is an instant running back 1, and you actually got him at a value in the fourth round. So
That's true.
don't drop him. I know that it's going to be tempting when the dude's just putting up 0 after 0 after 0 week after week after week.
But that's what the bench is for.
Exactly. So, and that guy's got as much upside as anybody that's going to be on your bench. If he gets traded, great. If he comes back and the Chargers get him back on the field, even better. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Sam, do you think a team, if they lose a running back via injury, like somebody tears an ACL or something like that, knock on wood, it doesn't happen, but is that when we'll see Melvin Gordon probably get traded? Because instantly there'll be a market. It has to be probably to a contender as well.
Yeah.
You're going to pay Melvin Gordon too.
Definitely. I mean, and just with how volatile the position is, I think that we will see him before week 10. Exactly like you just said, someone's going to get hurt. We don't want anyone to get hurt, but we all have seen this. We watch football long enough to know that injuries happen, especially at that position. So I definitely think he will probably be starting before week 10. Might be for a different team. I think that he might get moved just because it seems like the front office wants nothing to do with talking to him. So I think he's going to get moved.
So I also wanted to put up, Rocky commented saying his first 3 picks were Kamara,
Devontae, and Juju.
I'm assuming, and Juju Smith-Schuster. What were you playing in, like a 6-man league? That's fantastic. I mean,
that's fine. Don't worry. I'm sure that you've got another backup running back at 5 or 6 that you took. That's just fine.
You could have taken a kicker in the 4th round and you're still going to be okay with those first 3 players.
Don't listen to Tate. You never take a kicker in the 4th round.
Never take a kicker until the last round, ever. I hate that shit when people like reach on like Steven Gostkowski or something like that. Oh, it grinds my gears. But anyway, so all right. So if we don't have any other questions at the current moment, 10-man league from Rocky Saki, let us know.
10-man league. I mean, that sounds about right. But yeah, that's a really great first 3.
Juju in the 3rd round, even in a 10-man league, I still think that that's criminal. Man, still deserve to go in the 2nd round.
Maybe there were a bunch of like Browns fans in that league or something weird.
It could be weird, but I think Juju's going to ball out this year.
Yeah, as he always says, it's going to be lit.
Oh, I don't know if that. I just remembered him, the first NFL touchdown he scored, he threw out the Kamehameha from Dragon Ball Z. I don't even know if I said that correctly. Or maybe it was a Hadouken from Street Fighter. But I instantly fell in love with the guy, and I'm not even a Steelers fan.
I mean, he can dance, He can dance, he can ball, he can game. There's nothing he can't do. He's funny. And I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, but his dog is adorable. His dog's name is Bougie. So cute.
I like more so the fact that he laid out Vontaze Burfict.
And stood over him. I mean, he probably shouldn't have done that, but I mean.
The hell with that. Vontaze Burfict went at AB's head. No.
Yeah, I don't want to get into how awesome I felt that was. But I just want to be nice about it. I was very proud of him as a Steelers fan, as teammate. I consider him a teammate because he's on my team. That was a good move.
He is your boy. So speaking of your boy, the boys are starting tomorrow, not the show where it's like a bunch of fake superheroes and shit like that. We got NFL action starting tomorrow. Green Bay Packers at Soldier Field against the Chicago Bears. Go ahead and let us know in the comments what you think about your fantasy drafts. If there was anything crazy that happened. Did you get Zeke in the 2nd round? Did you take Melvin Gordon in the 4th like our boy Rocky Saki here? Anything that you got, any questions that you got, go ahead and let us know in the comments. We're going to be coming to you every single Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific over there with Sam. Again, we're brought to you by the Original Hooters. And until next time, later, says the Tater.
Peace out.